Welcome to this conversation with psychologist Kathy Frost from St. Joseph's University. We're going to be talking about Maria Montessori and how her ideas from the turn of the last century stack up with some modern psychological theory. Thanks for being with us today, Kathy.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's fun. Kathy and I know each other from mimetic theory circles, so there may be some mimetic theory terms that pop up. If so, we'll explain them for folks, not to be frightened by them. But I'd like to start out, Kathy, by sort of introducing one place where I think there's just a profound overlap with the work you do with attachment theory and Montessori's notion of liberty for the child. She said that the aim of parents and teachers should be to help the child help himself, and that any unnecessary help impedes development and impedes their growth. So if you could sort of expand on that idea, why that's so important that children not be overly helped, I guess, by meaningful adults,
Right. Yeah, it's hard to know how much to help as a parent, Well, in my classes, we talk a lot about attachment theory. And attachment theory has been around for a while, but in the last, I'd say 10, 15 years, there's just been an explosion of research on attachment theories, giving it more and more support. And one of the interesting ways that attachment theory has been talked about is by a group called the Circle of Security. And they take all of the research and psychological jargon and kind of whittle it down to being able to discuss attachment theory with all parents of all sorts. You don't have to be a psychologist to understand it. So what they've done so well is talk about the two main things that attachment theory tells us, and that is, as parents, we really need to be both a secure base, of support for the child. And if we do that well, what we can also do is just provide support for their exploring the world, going out and exploring as their natural curiosity would lead them to do. And so in the midst of those two things, providing a secure base of support when they need us, but encouragement and I don't know what the word would be, but just encouraging them to go out and explore, whether that's the playground or, learning something new or trying to read or whatever that may be, trying to make a friend, trying to enter a friend group, can be all kinds of things. But a couple of lines that they have that I think are really wonderful and I think dovetail with what Maria Montessori is saying is provide support when needed, but don't provide support when it's not asked for. So the child is going to alert you when they need your support. They'll come back to you when they need your support. They've gone out and they've explored and maybe they've run into some frustration or whatever. They'll come back to you and say, I need support now. I need help organizing what's going on here. And that's kind of an alert. Okay, I'm needed now. And it's helpful for me to help them organize their feelings, help them organize, what they're experiencing and so forth. That gives them, again, that's sort of like the secure base. They know you're there. They're going to come back to you. Get that sort of support, organization, whatever it is they need, and then it's like they're all better again, and they can go back out and continue exploring their world, which is what I think Montessori was talking about is you provide them enough support for them to go back out on their own.
Yeah. She was working with, when she made her discoveries about the education of normal children without any learning difficulties, she was working with preschool-age kids. And one of the things that she discovered, she didn't go in with a theory, then put it into practice. She went in not knowing what she was going to find. And through her observations of the kids, she developed a method, more than a theory, really. But what she recognized was that the child is actually equipped to do a lot of their own learning and growth and development with the support of a safe environment, but not necessarily dependent on something the adult is doing for them or to them. Children need to actively engage with the environment around them. And through that engagement, mind and body get connected, and they grow and learn. Right? So, and she went so far as to say that children take on the characteristics of their environment that they're interacting with, the way an insect camouflages itself, and you can't see it on, it matches the vegetation that it's on. And it says the child's impressions that he's receiving through this interaction with the environment are so profound that a biological or psychochemical change takes place, by which his mind ends by resembling the environment itself. Children become like the things they love. And I really maybe what she meant by the absorbent mind. You're absorbing, right, the environment in some kind of totality that is profound in terms of not just learning, but really engaging. Yeah. Right. And that's where, I find that intersection with mimetic theory, because it's this idea of incredible openness to the influence of others is what's sort of at the root of mimetic desire. And she just observed that happening with the kids, and she really shifted this idea of education from something that adults do to something that children are doing. Which is why I really like that the circle of security gives sort of parents this permission that it's okay to let them go. They'll be okay, right? Absolutely, yeah. It reminds me, too, of a Russian educational philosopher, Vygotsky, Lev Vygotsky, and he talks about the zone of proximal development, which is a fascinating way to think about it. It's as if, you have this zone wherein this area is where we can really, we can help the child, but we're not helping them too much. So, if you take a child who is trying to learn how to ride their bike, and, we can provide perhaps too much help by continuing to hold on to the bike handles, for far too long, and they're going, let go, or we could provide not enough help, where we could just say, you need to just try it yourself, get out there until you accomplish it, So we could be up here with too much help, or we could be down here providing too little help. But
the ideal is to offer just enough help in this zone right here, where we can help them along to a point where they can take over. And I like that sort of way that he talks about it as well, and it reminds me of Montessori's kind of philosophy on that idea.
Yes, yeah, it is very much in sync. I mean, and she actually talked a lot about sort of there's the wrong kind of help you can give, not just in in being too on top of the child, but trying to say, okay, now here's how you ride a bike. Here's the physics of it. Here's the the math. Where the child, that's too much, where with she designed the way her materials are presented, everything is broken down into discrete steps and presented very slowly so that the child can focus and see what's happening. I mean, she tells this wonderful story about children blowing their noses. And she says the kids are always getting in trouble because their nose is running and their parents are yelling at them, wipe your nose, here's a clean. She said one day, just as a joke in the classroom, she blew her nose like a, funny way and like a big, loud, noisy blow. And the kids laughed. And then she did the opposite. She took her handkerchief out and went very slowly, put it to her nose, so they could see, because usually we just go like this and then we're done blowing. Kids have no idea what's happening. And she said when she was done with that demonstration, that these kids burst into applause.
That's just amazing.
And she interpreted that as them being so grateful for being shown how to do the thing they're always getting in trouble because they can't do. And it's not that they didn't want to blow their nose, it's just that they didn't know how.
Yeah, breaking it down. And also it reminds me of, something that we talk about more in the last, 8 to 10 years with mimetic theory about the mirror neuron system. And it strikes me that what's going on there, too, is that kids are watching her and anticipating what her intention is. And I, there's this psychologist out there, you can find him on YouTube, who's also comes from an attachment background. His name is Dan Siegel. And he explains mirror neuron theory really well, but he takes a glass and he just slowly brings it to his face. And as you're watching, of course, what you're watching is someone, making a movement, but you're anticipating what their intention is. And you can see that the kids were probably doing the exact same thing with her blowing her nose, their mirror neuron system just has engaged, and they are watching with rapt attention. And in that way, also what we're saying with the mirror neuron system is just this, it's evidence of that in-syncness that is going on, that full engagement with another person and with the situation, as what you're talking about with her ideas about absorbent mind.
Oh, you're right. That's brilliant because, what she called it the prepared environment, so that, yes, we need to not give too much help or too little help, but the help we give needs to be the right kind of help. And that means we have to understand the way kids are learning. And they are learning through their senses and then through practice, right? So they'll observe this and then they'll put it into practice until they get it, right? So there's a lot of Right, you see children repeating behaviors and you think that is there something wrong with them? They're like OCD or something. They're doing the same thing over and over, and it can drive parents crazy and teachers crazy too, because you don't know what's going on. But they're just perfecting something that's how we all do it, right? I mean, adults still learn that way with the mirror through the mirror neuron system, right?
Yeah. And I think I read in one of your papers, and I really like this, that it's not just that they are learning to blow their nose. It's not just that they are learning to tie their shoes. It's also they are experiencing a practice of some sort that has organization to it, and it's something that they feel that they have perfected. It builds confidence, So there's all these kind of other, maybe less, cognitive things going on, and more maybe, slightly more emotional things going on, and so they're repeating it because they've mastered it, or they're close to mastering it, and that feels good. I haven't known a lot of children who've gone to Montessori school, but the ones that I have known, that is one of the hallmarks that I see is a clear confidence that's impressive.